Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to MetaRock's channel here in the Meta Cave of Gratitude. And that's especially relevant this week as we celebrate Thanksgiving, Dia de Acción de Gracias for you Spanish-speaking folks out there. And to that end, I'm going to show a complete run of Marvel Team Up and some related issues. I know that several people are trying to complete this set, and it is a very cool set to complete because you got such variety of characters. Generally, you have Spider-Man and Human Torch teamed up with a guest star, and there are storylines, there are one-shots, there are, quirky little aspects to it, which I will be going through. This will probably be a two-part video, Tuesday and Wednesday. There will not be a roundup on Thursday for Thanksgiving, so I will do the complete roundup next week. But I did want to do this, and again, show my appreciation and thanks to the community for the support they have given me in so many different channels throughout these past few years, and hopefully into the future, depending on what happens with YouTube, which I'm not going to get into right now. So I'm going to show from 1 to 150 probably today, 1 through 75, along with a few what I consider sort of pseudo Marvel team-ups. Okay? And so let's get into it. Marvel Team Up number 1 here. It's actually a two-part story. Very good, like, Christmas story, actually, in that first issue. And completed here in the second. Spider-Man and the Human Torch here in both. That's a two-part story. Another two-part story here. Starring, again, the same duo, Spider-Man and Human Torch, this time against Morbius. And then number 4, we have Spider-Man teaming up with some of the X-Men to finish off Morbius there. Again, that's another two-parter there. Now we start to get into some single story issues. Spider-Man and the Vision, number 5. Spider-Man and the Thing, number 6. Actually, this is actually a two-parter. Actually, I do believe that's the Puppet Master actually appears in both. Here we have Spider-Man and Thor, number 7. Spider-Man and the Cat. I do believe this is the only appearance of the Cat outside of her own title. So if you're a cat aficionado, that is an issue you may be wanting to pick up. Here we start a three-issue story arc with Spider-Man and Iron Man, Spider-Man and Human Torch. This is a time-traveling story. And it finishes up here in number 11 with Spider-Man and the Inhumans. Again, really cool covers and pretty good stories. Here we have Spider-Man and Werewolf, which is Werewolf by Night. Again, one of those really cool little team-ups with monsters. You'll see a few later. Here we have Spider-Man and Captain America against the Grey Gargoyle, and Spider-Man and the Savage Submariner. Number 14. Number 15, one of my favorites, Spider-Man and Ghost Rider, one of my favorite comic book characters. And this introduces one of Ghost Rider's villains, the Orb. Or the Orb, I believe. And Spider-Man and Captain America. Here we start a two-story arc again. I believe it's a two-story arc. And yes, and it finishes here in Spider-Man and Marvel Team Up number 17 with Spider-Man and Mr. Fantastic. Here we have a Marvel Team Up. Now here we go away from Spider-Man as a guest, as the headliner, and we have Human Torch and the Hulk against Blaster. Here we start another two-issue story arc kind of a beat up issue of mine here. Marvel Team Up 19 with Khazar. And finishes up here at number 20 with Black Panther against Stegron, the Dinosaur Man, which came back to haunt him a few times. This is one of my original copies. As you can see, I filled in the Spider-Man there with some crayon way back when. Probably should upgrade this. Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. And then here is Spider-Man and Hawkeye and Marvel Team Up number 22. This is especially, shall we say, notable issue because it has the Byra Marvel value stamp, and it is the only issue in which you can find that value stamp. Number 23 is important for later on when I show you the giant size Spider-Man. And here again, Spider-Man is not the headliner. It is Human Torch, and the guest star is Iceman, Fire and Ice. And here is Spider-Man and Brother Voodoo, another somewhat rare Brother Voodoo appearance outside of Strange Tales and Tales of the Zombie. And here is Marvel Team Up number 25, Spider-Man and Daredevil against the Unholy Trio. And number 26, again, they're kind of flip-flopping here between Spider-Man and Human Torch, experimenting. Human Torch and Thor. Thor sans wings on his helmet there, as you can see. I don't know what happened there, but I don't know, artistic license, whatever. Maybe it burned off down there. Marvel Team Up number 27, nice Starlin cover here. Spider-Man and the Hulk, and number 28, Spider-Man and Hercules, notable because in this issue, the island of Manhattan is stolen or is moved off a bit, and Hercules wears a harness and moves it back. Yes. I think later on they said that was not the case, but in that issue, definitely that is what they said happened. Marvel Team Up number 29, Human Torch and Iron Man against Infinitus, and number 30, Spider-Man and the Falcon with Gil Kane cover there. Here we have Marvel Team Up 31, Spider-Man and Iron Fist. 32, Human Torch and Son of Satan. Trying to go a little bit quicker here, unless there's something real notable. Marvel Team Up 33, Spider-Man and Nighthawk, and number 34, Spider-Man and Valkyrie. This is, I believe, a 3-issue story arc, which concludes in number 35, Human Torch and Doctor Strange. And then we have 36, in which Spider-Man meets the Frankenstein monster. And again, this is the second Marvel Team-Up monster. He the werewolf earlier. And then in the next one, he meets the Man-Wolf. And that's a 2-issue story arc. I do believe there are 36 and 37. 38, Spider-Man and the Beast against the Griffin. That was a previous Beast enemy from Amazing Adventures. Another 2-issue story arc here, Spider-Man and Human Torch. And then Spider-Man and Sons of the Tiger, which they take on, I think, some of the sons and daughters of Spider-Man's old villains there. Here is a beginning of a long story arc. I think it's like 5 issues. Marvel Team Up 41, Spider-Man and Scarlet Witch, which they go back in time and they go to the Salem witch trials. Here's Spider-Man and Vision. Doctor Doom gets summoned back there. 43. And here is 44, in which this part of the story arc ends, but it continues because as Spider-Man is trying to get back to his 1976 reality, he overshoots it and goes into, I believe this is 2019. Yes, this is 2019 when the Martians invade, and he teams up with Killraven, and then on the way back, he stops in 1990 and teams up with Deathlock. Really good story arc there, actually. And here is Marvel Team Up number 47 with Spider-Man and the Thing. And this is another little, again, quirk here. This is actually a 2-issue story arc, but it crosses over with Marvel 2-in-1 number 17. So if you want to get this whole story, you need to go into the title Marvel 2-in-1 and number 17. Okay, so that's one of the little quirks that I'm talking about here. Another story arc starting here, Marvel Team Up number 48 with Iron Man. I do believe this is the first Jean DeWolf appearance. And it continues here, Spider-Man and Iron Man again in 49, back to back. And then they bring in Doctor Strange. And it concludes in number 51, Spider-Man again with Iron Man. So Iron Man and Spider-Man are 3 of those 4 issues. And then here at 52 is a one-shot story with Captain America. 53 is cool because that is Spider-Man and the Hulk, but it actually is the first Byrne work on X-Men. There's a few pages there with X-Men on it. And when I get into the annuals, I'll talk about how that works. And then here we have number 54 with Spider-Man and the Hulk again. And I believe that's a 2-issue story arc there as well. Actually, well, yeah, because he gets shot into space. Here is one that is really cool. It's a Byrne art here. Spider-Man and Warlock. Spider-Man gets shot into space and actually ends up on the moon. This is one of those Warlock appearances not a lot of people talk about, but it's actually important because it shows how he got out of his the issue he got in Marvel and Warlock 15 that he became too big, and that shows how he reduced back to normal size. Marvel Team Up 56, Spider-Man and Daredevil against Electro and Blizzard, I do believe is in there. Here is Spider-Man, number 57, Spider-Man and Black Widow against the Silver Samurai. I think it's his second appearance. This is another cool issue, Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. Of course, Ghost Rider fan, you know I'd say that. Here's another multiple story issue, multiple story arc. Number 59, Spider-Man plus Yellow Jacket and the Wasp. And in 60, it is Spider-Man and just the Wasp against Equinox, which was the villain they took on earlier. Here's another 2-story arc, Spider-Man and Human Torch. And then Spider-Man and Ms. Marvel. And I believe this is the first time she came out of her title as well. We're getting to the end of this episode, folks. Spider-Man and Iron Fist. And I think this is the and Spider-Man and Daughters of the Dragon. This is where John Byrne wrapped up some of the story elements from Iron Fist that were left dangling. And Chris Claremont, Byrne and Claremont, I believe. Here we have Team Up number 65 with Captain Britain, the first U.S. appearance of him. And then number 66, and I believe this is the first arcade, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not in on the X-Men stuff too much. Really cool here on Tigra. Team Up number 67 against Craven. And 68, another John Byrne cover here with the Man-Thing against Despair. So I believe this is more John Byrne and still in the title. Number 69 with Havoc. And then that concludes in number 70 with Thor. We're getting to the end here. But I have more to show. 71 with the Falcon. 72 with Iron Man against Whiplash, looks like there. 73 with Daredevil. 74 with the not ready for primetime players or the Saturday Night Live crew, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Jane Curtin, etc. Kind of a funny issue there. And then number 75, which is the last regular issue for today, with Power Man, Luke Cage, Power Man. There are some I want to show you, though, that I think are, again, spiritually, if not, titled Marvel Team-Ups, and that is Giant Size Spider-Man. And you're saying to yourself, Metarog, there's nothing that says Marvel Team Up there. Well, it's true. But it actually was written by the same writer that at the time was writing Marvel Team Up, Len Wein. And it has all the earmarks of Marvel Team Up. You have it says, notice this is Spider-Man and Dracula, et cetera, et cetera. And actually, this is the issue in which Marvel Team Up 23 and finishes up some of the story elements. So that gives you some credence to my theory. Here's giant-sized Spider-Man and Master of Kung Fu, and this is interesting because this is one of the few times that Master Kung Fu continuity in his own title came out of that title and actually had the Sax Romer characters in here. So this is a very, if you're a Shang-Chi fan, this is a very, very important issue in that regard. And here we have giant-sized Spider-Man and Doc Savage. And now here, Len Wein no longer is writing it. Jerry Conway, which was writing Amazing Spider-Man, is now writing. And you're saying, well, that's not good evidence. Yeah, but what happened is that Len Wein became editor, so he had to have, you know, somebody. And of course, the Spider-Man writer at the time was natural pick there. But that's definitely a team up there with Spider-Man and Doc Savage. And then, of course, we have one of the early Punisher appearances here in Giant-Sized Spider-Man and Punisher. And lastly, we have Giant-Sized Spider-Man and Man-Thing number 5. There is a number 6 issue, but it's all reprints. So to me, this is the last official team-up, pseudo team-up issue that is in that run. So that's it. That is the first part 1 of my Marvel Team Up run. Part 2, I'm going to include the annuals and the official index to Marvel Team Up. So stay tuned. Probably that'll come down the pike tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, really cool run here. 150 issues plus annuals. And if you want to get really involved, the giant size and the crossover with Marvel 2-in-1. All right, everybody. Everybody be blessed and be back tomorrow, because there will be another video coming your way. All right, everybody.